We're just letting people in. We'll get started in a minute with the Conservation Commission meeting.
Okay. You ready?
Sure.
Sure. Here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Chuck Tironi, Reading's Conservation Administrator, consistent with the governor's orders superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law and allowing us to adhere to social distancing requirements during this COVID-19 crisis. This Town of Reading Conservation Commission meeting is being held virtually via Zoom for audio and video participation of the Conservation Commission applicants and their representatives or the public. During this meeting, myself or the chair will unmute commissioners, applicants, representatives, and members of the public individually as needed. During the conservation meeting, the chair and the administrator will be the only ones permitted to share video. These controls are in place to ensure that tonight's meeting is safe and effective. At this time, the chair will conduct a roll call vote to make sure that all members are present and that they can hear.
Okay. All right. Roll call vote. I'm going to start with John.
John Sullivan, member, present.
Carl.
Carl Ciccone, member.
Andrew.
Andrew Driven, member, present.
Brian.
Brian Bowe, Vice Chair, present.
And Martha Moore, Chair, present. We have all 5 members of the commission that are here with us. We are still short 2 members and would love to have volunteers apply to be members of our Conservation Commission. Back to you, Chuck.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Please note that tonight's meeting is being recorded. Also be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All of the materials for this meeting are available on the Conservation Division site, and I recommend that commissioners and the public follow the agenda as posted on the Reading webpage, or unless otherwise noted. However, because tonight is being conducted remotely, I advise that applicants, in particular, that commissioners cannot discuss or consider documents which were not previously posted. Information may, however, be presented orally. Similarly, members of the public are encouraged to provide written public comment, but should understand that not all participants nor the commission members will be able to see any written comments during the course of this meeting. Before we get started on tonight's agenda, I'm going to cover some ground rules for safe and effective, clear conduct of our business to ensure that accurate minutes are taken. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. After commission members make their remarks and these remarks have been addressed by the applicant, the chair will afford public comment as followed. The chair will first ask for members of the public who wish to speak to identify themselves by name. Once the chair has a list of public commentators, the chair will call on each one by name and afford them 4 minutes for comments. Applicants may be requested to respond by the chair. After the public comment, the chair will once again go down the line of commissioners, inviting each one by name to provide any further comment, question, or motion. Please hold off until your name is called. Finally, each vote taken during tonight's meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. That's what I have.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. And our first hearing is Zero Small Lane. Are they here or are they going to be continued?
Zero Small Lane requested a continuance until March 8th.
Okay, so we need, they are Assessors Map 40 and 41, Lot 153 and 155, and 29, DEP file number 270-0748. Could we have a motion to continue that hearing till March 8th?
I move to-
I'll make a motion to continue Zero Small Lane to February 22nd.
No, March 8th.
Oh, sorry. Yes, March 8th.
This is John, I'll second.
Thank you.
John Sullivan in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. The next hearing is 50 Joanna Drive. Open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Ciro Federa under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to construct a 42 square foot addition with a proposed front porch within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and riverfront area. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at Town Hall Conservation Office and on the Conservation Division webpage under Current Projects. Assessors Map 23, Lot 121, RCC file number 2023-01. Are the people here who are representing that hearing?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Giovanni, I just let in the meeting and gave him the permissions to use his screen sharing. Anyone
Right.
else with
Anybody
you,
else with you,
Giovanni?
Giovanni?
It's just myself, I believe. So
Okay.
unless they came on, but I'll be here representing them anyway. So since last meeting, so Giovanni Federa with Federa Engineering for the record. At the previous meeting, we did, it was suggested that we determine all the degraded area on site. So we had my field guy go out there and we land surveyed the area, we land surveyed the driveway and whatever else was degraded, the walkway. So it was determined that there was 16.1% of the lot area, which the lot area is fully riverfront. 16.1% of it was degraded or is degraded, and that's in the existing conditions. From the post-development conditions or the post-construction, we're only going to gain 4 square feet of alteration or degraded area. So I did send out a letter and it was addressed to all the commissioners. So I hope you all had a chance to read that. But it just kind of outlines, the difference between existing conditions and post-construction conditions. And, with increasing by 4 square feet, it's very minimal. When you look at the larger picture, it's still 16.1% of the lot area. So we believe that an RDA is respectable, and just want to get the commission's feedback. So I'd like to open it up.
All right, thank you, Giovanni. My first question is, because we only got that email yesterday evening, I want to know whether the members of the commission actually had a chance to look at the plans and read them before tonight's meeting. And so could I just go through the roll call vote again, not as a vote, but just let me know if you feel you had enough time to look over those plans or if you did not. So starting with John. John, you're still muted.
Sorry, I lost the window. I was behind a bunch of other files. I have not had a chance to look at it.
Okay, how about Carl?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, Andrew
I have, yes.
and Brian.
Yes, I have.
And I have not. So with 3 of the 5 of the commissioners have not had enough time to look at it. Section 5E3A says we're supposed to have information 6 days before the meeting in order to be able to review it before the meeting. Giovanni, would you be willing to ask to continue to the next meeting, which would give us plenty of time to assess your information?
Yes, that's okay. Yep.
All right. Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. And it was kind of, I'll take the blame. We passed in a little late. So, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion to continue this one to February 22nd?
I move
Yes,
to continue. Sorry, this is John. I'll move to continue 50 Joanna Drive to February 22nd.
Second, Carl Sacconi, second.
John Sullivan in favor.
Carl Sacconi in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
And Martha Moore in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, Giovanni.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
Joe.
you.
Okay, 52 Luanis Drive. Are they here or have they asked to continue?
They asked for a continuance and a site visit from with me, and I thought I'd let the commission know that I'm going out there tomorrow at 12 o'clock. So they want to be continued. Luanis is February 22nd.
Okay, and do you want other members who are available to come with you at 12 o'clock tomorrow for the site visit?
I don't, it's just in case you wanted to. It's a conversation about the invasives that are out there, the Phragmite.
Okay, and that's February 9.
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm available and I think I would enjoy seeing the Phragmites and hearing the discussion about that. This is the place where we did the site visit in the snowstorm, right?
Yes.
Though I
Yep.
haven't actually seen that site, so I actually would like to see it.
And I would also, partly just for the enjoyment of your company, Chuck, but also commend you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So those of us that can and are interested in going will join Chuck at the site visit noon on February 9th. And other than that, can I have a motion to continue this hearing to February 22nd?
This is Andy. I'll make a motion to continue 52 Luanis Drive to the next meeting, February 22nd.
Carl Sacconi, second.
John Sullivan in favor.
Carl Sacconi in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. We are now up to 14 Forest Street. That might be Liz, might be here for 14 Forest Street. And I'll read the blurb. Open the public hearing on a request for determination of applicability filed by Ways Development under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and or the Reading Wetland Protection Bylaw, Section 7.1. The applicant proposes to remove the existing back deck and decking catwalk, construct a 14 by 24 kitchen addition on a 4-foot frost wall slab on grade, and reconstruct the catwalk deck and stair to connect to the current pool deck. All of the work is within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The application and plans can be viewed during regular business hours at the Town Hall Conservation Office, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. 01867, and on the Conservation Division page under Current Project. Assessors Map 39, Lot 16, RCC file number 2023-04. All right. Okay, and Liz
And
is
are you
Yeah.
able to unmute Tagi as well?
sure.
Yeah.
Tagi Shaw, yeah. Thank you.
All right. We are at your hearing amazingly early, Liz. Thank you for
Right.
joining us.
Impressive.
Okay. All right. Chuck, can you put the plans up? And Liz, do you want to tell us a little bit about what your project is?
I mean, outside of what was shared, what was just outlined, I think, you can see here it's a small addition in addition to a previously added addition several years ago, and just replacing the back deck that connects to the house.
I was able to go out for a site visit and see the area. Did anybody else on the commission make it out to do a site visit?
I did, I went out today.
I was not able to, no.
Okay, so Brian, since you actually were out there today, do you want to describe what you saw on your site visit?
Sure. So I knocked at the door and the gentleman of the house came out and accompanied me to the backyard. He pointed out what was going to be done, what was going to be taken down, where things are going to be added. I then walked around the pool and what have you, looking at the area in general, asked a few questions. It was a very brief visit because I thought it was pretty straightforward. So with that, very high level summary, I think we can get to the questions and move this on.
Okay. Just for the sake of other commissioners who didn't get to go out there, the wetland in question is a stream that's a culverted stream under Forest Street. And I was just about to describe where it would be located on the map, but maybe Chuck's pulling up a better image.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the aerial photo,
Okay.
which probably is more helpful. Describe away.
Okay. So, all right. So if you're looking at this aerial map, you can see Chuck has the blue outline around the yard, and there's a fence completely around the yard, and then the stream is culverted up to the point where Chuck is marking with his symbol, or was marking with his symbol. So it's only a open stream, the back half starting there. Yeah. And there are trees along the outside of the fence, and the fence goes right around the border of the yard outside the shed and comes across from at the end of the driveway, and also comes across on the other side of the house. So the whole backyard is fenced in. I looked at the fence. There doesn't seem to be any gates at the back of the fence. There doesn't seem to be any yard waste dumped over the fence. So there wasn't any significant debris on the stream side of the fence. So none of those issues seem to be a problem. I guess one of my questions for the homeowners is where the construction entrance will be, since the construction will be on the side away from the stream and away from the driveway. Will they be opening up the fence on that side, or will they be taking down enough deck that they can get their construction vehicles in between the swimming pool and the current addition to build the new addition?
If I may jump in, my name is Tagi Shaw, and I'm the builder for 14 Forest Street. I know that issue was raised and the homeowner brought that question to us. We could take a section of the fence out and proceed to bring equipment on the left side of the house there.
The side that's not a driveway?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Anybody else have any questions about this project? John?
Is there erosion control within the plan for this project?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Is there a plan for erosion control? during this, or-
Erosion control, not at the moment, but if there's any suggestions that you guys have, we're happy to meet those guidelines.
Chuck, can you put the plot plan back up?
Sure, but it's easier to draw on this one if you want to
Oh.
show where you might want it.
All right, because I thought I saw erosion control on the plan.
It's on the, like, plot plan, but not the proposed, right? I don't think it's on the.
Oh, that's right. It is, it was marked by our engineer.
Right. But it's
Yeah.
not it's not drawn though, Chuck, still, so it's still useful for Chuck to draw that, I think.
Well, it's the zigzags going all the way
Oh,
around.
that's
the
what that
three
is? Oh,
sides.
erosion control. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's the zigzags around the three sides of the fence, and it looks like it's silt fence and silt socks.
Okay.
Chuck, what do you think? Is that the right amount of erosion control? Too much, too little?
Yeah, it might be too much. If I could switch back to the other screen, see
Mhm.
if I can do that quickly. Yes, something just to protect the stream kind of in this area would be sufficient.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get that to be a little bit wider so everyone can see it.
So you're saying just inside the fence on the side toward the stream?
Yeah, it's just protect the stream from the work.
Mhm.
Mm.
And
There you go.
do you think the silt fence is needed, or is just a mulch sock enough since we have a big tall plastic fence as well?
I think the mulch sock would be enough for this project. So just bring it out. You're not entering over here anymore, I guess. So just bring it out over here and then wrap it, just kind of wrap it up right there. And then that would probably protect the wetland area. And a 12-inch mulch sock in that area would be sufficient as long as you staked it down.
Okay.
And are you planning to dig out for the foundation and produce a soil stockpile at all?
It's gonna be very little.
Okay, and if you did make a soil stockpile, where would you put that?
Again, I would say to that section where we're gonna remove the fence. If you're standing from Forest Street looking at the house, it would be your right.
Okay. So near the words that say proposed addition.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, Brian, you had your hand up for a while. Do you have something else you want to ask?
Not after you went. No, my questions were on the stockpile and whether they're gonna take out any soil or not. So you got me.
All right, we think alike. Are there any other questions that we're concerned about? I think anybody else on the commission? I don't want to steal everybody else's thunder.
So I had a question.
Okay, Chuck.
So typically we ask for infiltration off of when we have a new structure out there. And I was wondering if it was proposed as part of this project.
It was not proposed. It's not part of these plans. But we're happy to meet any guidelines.
So
I
we
see a thing about a dry well on this plan that we're reading right now, Chuck, at the top.
That was done by the engineer, but yeah, I see that too.
So is that part of this project, or, I mean, because that's exactly what this Conservation Commission typically gets.
Yeah, absolutely. We can adhere to that. Not a problem.
It doesn't show where, oh, here it is right here, proposed dry well,
Dry well.
right in the corner.
1,000-gallon concrete dry well.
So with that, we would have a condition to be out there after the hole's dug.
Mm-hmm.
And you typically dig the hole, line it, crush stone, and then run the roof leaders or the downspouts to it. And before you backfill, I want to see those connections. The engineering department also reviews this. So just let me know if you contact them. I'll make sure they understand that they need to look at this, or you could call them and say, we're ready. It's kind of the
Okay.
same thing. They want to see the whole, they want to see the connections.
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
This is a kind of unusual site because the stream bank is pretty close to the fence. And the property on the stream side of the fence seems to be trees and undisturbed, and the property inside the fence is yard with some plants and a lot of lawn. So it doesn't feel like a situation which would have a 25-foot zone of natural vegetation. Chuck, do you have any thoughts about whether we need to worry about the zone of natural vegetation for this piece of stream?
Well, it will always help, even if there's a fence in between the stream and where that vegetated buffer strip goes.
All right, and Andrew, you had your hand up. Do you have a question or a comment?
Just a question about the stream. Is it perennial? Is it always there, or is it just when you have a lot of rain? It's kind of a funky situation there, the stream going into the culvert.
Maybe the homeowner would have an answer?
Yeah, I would say it varies. It's typically pretty dry in the summer months, and then kind of in the spring and fall, it's got a little bit of water in there, but it's definitely not like a babbling brook by any means.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, I think you have some shrubberies around the back of your yard, sort of between the shed and the above ground pool. And I'm wondering whether
Correct.
you would be willing to put in any sort of native plantings along the fence on the side near the stream.
I mean, if that's the holdup, sure. My kids play soccer and baseball and all the things back there, so we'll make whatever work, but it's typically used as yard space. But if you'd let me know what that entails, we can figure it out.
Well, I was picturing shrubberies right up against the fence so that your yard space is still mostly available. And if we were asking for that, Carl, do you have any suggestions of what we'd be looking for, shrubs versus ground cover or trees or whatever? There is a row of trees on the stream bank outside the fence.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to visit the site, but just from some of the pictures and Google Earth and things, I mean, I think shrubs would be nice. You know, something woody, again, like we typically like the viburnums or clethras or things like that. That can handle a little bit of shade, right? You know, color, those, you know, they're nice natives, right?
So maybe like, I'd say 3 or 5
Mhm.
shrubs planted where the grass got killed by the erosion control. And when you take up the erosion control, you can put in a row of shrubs right along there along the fence.
Absolutely,
Sure, no
Sound
problem.
reasonable?
absolutely.
Sounds good.
So what's the total you want planted, Martha?
Well, I said 3 to 5, and Carl, what do
That's
you?
why I'm asking.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think with three would be nice, right? Because I think if it's something deciduous, they're gonna get, you know, 4 to 5 foot round at some point, right? So I think that's, you know, that's nice.
okay, so 3 would be plenty.
Yeah.
And do we need a size of what size bushes we're putting in there?
If we do want to suggest, typically we've been asking for like a number 5 gallon shrub,
Okay.
which just, you know, for the record is not outrageously expensive, but you know, it's a good size plant to plant in these, you know, disturbed or undisturbed places. So
And
Sounds
I
good.
think there's a list on the town conservation website that gives you a selection of shrubs. So Carl has suggested a viburnum or a clethra, but there are a whole list of them if there's some that appeal to you more than others.
Okay, sounds good. We'll check it out.
Okay. Are there any members of the general public here who wanted to make comments on this hearing? If so, use the reaction button at the bottom of your screen and use the raise hand function under reactions. Okay. Hearing none, is there anyone on the commission or Chuck who has any other questions or comments for this?
I have no additional comments.
Okay, can I have a motion? Do we close RDA?
Yeah, close conditions and then issue.
Okay. All right. Can I have a motion to close?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to close the hearing on 14 Forest Street.
Carl Saccone, second.
John Sullivan in favor.
Carl Saccone in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Rambo in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, conditions. We said 3 shrubs, number 5 pots. We
Yes.
said construction entrance on the side away from the stream and stockpiling on the side away from the stream. There's a erosion control on the side toward the stream along the fence, and there's a dry well as shown in the plans. Anything else that I've missed?
No, that's the list.
Okay. Can I have a motion to, oh, I need to remind us all. In order for this project to go, you would want a negative determination for your RDA. It sounds backwards, but if we vote for a negative determination, that gives you permission to go ahead with your project. So can I have a motion for a negative determination on this project at 14 Forest Street?
I'll make a motion for a negative determination for 14 Forest Street, given the conditions discussed previously.
This is John. I'll second. John Sullivan in favor.
Carl Saccone in favor.
Andrew Driven in favor.
Rambo in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay. You're all set, Liz.
Perfect.
And
Thank you, everyone.
All
you
right,
need
thank
to
you.
be in
Thank you.
communication with Chuck about when you get started on your project. And Chuck, are you going to send them out paperwork as well?
I am, Liz, just understand that there's a 10-day appeal period. So we'll sign off on the building permit basically 2 weeks from tonight.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay. We have some other people here and we have old new business. Do we want to find out what the other people at the hearing are here for?
I was
William?
just, this is William, 105 Prescott Street. I'm here as an observer. And that's all. I'm going before the volunteer subcommittee next week. I previously served as a conservation commissioner in Belmont. So I'm volunteering to join this commission and I've just been observing. Thanks.
All right, well, welcome, and I certainly hope you do volunteer. As I said at the beginning, we definitely need more members.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you scared, I think you scared off the other person, Martha.
I guess so. Well, maybe they were listening in for 14 Forest Street and have not any more
Or that,
interest.
yes.
They didn't
Okay.
have anything to say, but they were here for that hearing, perhaps. Okay, so Old new business, there's a town-wide water and sewer extension request. Chuck, do you want to talk to us about that?
Yes, and hold on a second. Let me just see if I can find that real quick. So the town operates the their daily activities, which are unknown day-to-day maintenance issues that come up. And they use a town-wide water and sewer permit that was first, I guess, approved in the 90s. And this is, usually work within existing right-of-way or existing easements and outside of wetland areas. So with that, typical job that was used was when Walker's Brook, when the drain lines in Walker's Brook busted and the DPW went down there to fix them. That didn't need a permit. We did get notified that that work was going on, but we already have this permit in place. But anytime that the work would encroach, the 25-foot zone off of the right of way, then they would notify the commission and they would need a permit. And certainly when they're working in the resource area, they would need a permit. So with that, the Brian Percival, who's the town engineer, requests that the Conservation Commission extend this permit to the maximum of 3 years. And I recommend that the commission do the same.
Any members of the commission have any comments on extending the permit for 3 years?
There was an idea floated about including as a condition the continued coordination meetings with DPW. So if we can add that as a condition just to codify it, I think that would be helpful. That's my only comment though.
Yes, we cannot add that as a condition, but we can add that as a note that came from the Conservation Commission.
Fair enough.
And that's what I'll do.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. What else do you want to talk about tonight, Chuck?
So we had a couple of things, the water bill and the discussion items is probably where we want to go at this point. First, there's no correspondence again. I think that's a good thing. We are getting a lot of RDAs. We're getting a lot of applications. We had 4 come in at the last meeting, and we had 4 come in again for our next meeting. So that'll include 50 Joanna. So there'll be at least 5, and so it should be a pretty big meeting. None of them are over the top complicated. Some of them chose to do notices of intent, and the other ones were just requests for determinations of applicability. I wanted to talk about the annual conference and to see if there was anybody that was interested in going to the annual conference, because the Conservation Office will pay you to go and pick out, up to three of these meetings to go to and workshops, and then visit them. And we only ask that you just update the commission on what you saw and what you heard and anything that you took away from that. So did anyone get a chance to look at those after I sent them out? I think it's February 28th through March 9th. And
I do plan on attending some. I still have not managed to look at the list though. If anybody else is going to go, we should talk ahead of time so we kind of coordinate to try and get as much coverage as we can.
Yeah, I haven't looked specifically either. Or is it online only? Is that what it is?
it's on, well, the Saturday one right Where's the Saturday? Saturday right here. You can go. I think you have a choice of going yourself or virtual. I think.
I thought it was all
Nope.
virtual, Doug.
Nope.
Yeah,
I'm
it's all
wrong.
virtual, I
It's
think, yeah.
all online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also I sent something out. Not only this, and I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of good opportunity here. Hold on a sec if I can grab it.
Last
this-
year, there were a couple of things that were free to anyone. You did not have to pay to attend, like maybe the guest speaker award celebration, things like that. And then there was a fee per fundamentals unit, and then there was a separate fee that you could go to as many of the A, B, C, D, E, F workshops as you wanted for a certain fee. So it's an interesting way of organizing it. I have been to enough fundamentals units that I got the certification, and I found most of them very helpful and interesting. So if you haven't been to any or haven't been to many, I would recommend going to some. And this is a good way to catch them.
So some of the things that would come up for the Reading Conservation Commission would be soils in Massachusetts, Part A and Part B, knotweed removal. This is something we did at Millette, Soms, and Morgan. Delineations of BVW and permitting road and stream crossings and protecting wildlife habitat. Utility projects, when they come through, how do you permit a utility projects? And right now we're getting a lot of requests that they're exempt, and this commission doesn't take that stand. I think what we do is they can declare that they're exempt, and that's fine, but it's up to the commission to make that designation, and we need to review the application first. So that'll come about in an RDA. I think that exemption only allows them not to have to file a notice of intent for the work. So wetland habitat and permitting utility work in Massachusetts, and then solar panels. Solar panels have become pretty popular here in Reading. There's a whole bunch more. Those are the ones that I thought were interesting. And the fundamentals, Wetlands Protection Act 101 and erosion control, erosion and sediment control might be, kind of 101 also. So I'm not sure the fundamentals. Sometimes the fundamentals, after you've spent a few years on the Conservation Commission, unless you want to get that designation that you completed all the courses, doesn't really help out too much. But there's certainly a few in there out of all those courses that make sense to take.
Actually, one of the ones that might be interesting is the most bottom right, which is effective project review. Since a number of us are still relatively new, there might be some tips that are worth picking up while listening.
Mm-hmm.
He says might, meaning probably.
Yeah. So they are doing, so we were able to get MACC to send us an invoice. So I believe that could happen if you are, so you don't have to be reimbursed. You could ask Lindsay at MACC when you sign up to invoice the town. And that might save you the frustration of turning in your receipts.
And
Okay.
I would suggest that anybody who decides to go, just let Chuck know what you're interested in, so he can kind of keep a tally of how much he needs to budget for people's fees.
Where, yeah, I'll look at it again tomorrow, but I think we're around 3 per commissioner. And you can look at the choices, and so you can look at the choices. I think there's a choice A, B, and C. I think C is the fundamentals, but A and B is probably what you want to look at. So you got the link. Please look at it. And yeah, get back to me in time to, we need like crazy amount of time to get these things paid off. So 2 or 3 weeks, something to run this through the town.
Okay, thank you. All right, what else do we need to talk about tonight?
Oh, so 60 Terrace Park, the dog fence, that's no action on that. The letter went out. I haven't heard anything back. The Trails Committee will be out there soon. So will the Conservation Commission, because I understand that there's a proposal that I only heard this secondhand for a bike park out there, in quotes, bike park. I don't know anything about it, where it would be, but I know it's in the Kirchian Woods conservation land area. And it actually might even be just on town land, depending on where they want to put it. Like I said, right off of Veterans Way, there's a spot that is considered conservation land, but we actually are not in care and custody of that land. That's town land. And the next one would be the budget discussion. And I know that, so we have town budget, and there was we have $5,000 for the conservation budget. And I saw that Brian had some suggestions on that. Brian, did you want to put your suggestions up in the screen and talk about them, or just talk about them?
I can just talk about them. So basically this was whatever, half a dozen ideas I came up with that I've heard somebody or other talk about over the time I've been on the commission. We haven't really had a budget before this to take care of much of these. So I put them together, didn't even put a priority order on them or anything yet. I know we only have, what did you say, Chuck, 5,000? I was actually thinking 55, but anyway, so 5,000, there's $12,000-ish of suggestions in there. So there should be more than enough. What I'd like you folks, before I get into them in detail, into each one of them, I'd like you folks to think about these, give feedback on these, and obviously if you have any different ideas, let's get them on the table as well. So there's a mix of things in there, such as any more signs for conservation areas. You know, we have the new sign, the nice one from Matera Cabin. We're doing a new one for the Pearl Street entrance to Bear Meadow. But there are other signs around town that are equally as old. And so we could consider using some of this money to do a sign which is equivalent to the one that's going in for the Pearl Street entrance to Bear Meadow, for example. I wasn't sure of the cost there, so this is a guesstimate. Feel free to correct that, Chuck, if you think I missed laughably. So the first item there is a stenographer, part-time stenographer. We've talked about getting somebody to write up the minutes besides one of us doing it. So this is the idea. I did some quick checking to see if we wanted to get a part-time person for X number of hours, what it might cost. There are other alternatives we could explore, such as, are there any volunteers? Is there a Boy Scout interested in the project? Whatever. But this is if we were going to pay for it, roughly this amount. And so, by the way, the total hours for the year came from 22 meetings, that's 12 months, and November and December is only one meeting. So 22 meetings. I think I threw in the estimate of 3 hours per set of minutes, I think it was. Anyway, that was just straight math. So that's a thought. I think that we'd all would like, not having to deal with that. The next two are actually, I'm going to call them team building in quotes, but basically at various times we've talked about either a windbreaker or I know other committees around town have hacks, but some way to kind of identify us either when we're on a site visit or what have you. Like I said, I'm going to call it team building, but I was surprised that there's some pretty reasonable prices, and I haven't even explored yet the family option. Our oldest daughter actually works for Vistaprint, so there might be some savings there that I could explore. I just haven't had time to do that yet. Let's see. Talked about the signs, and next is the plaque, and it was talked about in birch metal. I think Andy, you brought it up. As wouldn't it be nice if we could have some kind of a stand with some information about that area? So I put it on the list. Again, that is just a guesstimate. I don't know what that might cost. The next one is quite a while ago now. We asked the town to come up with a list of all the abutters to conservation / wetlands. So we have the list. There are thousands of names on the list. Unfortunately, there's a lot of duplication, but so I took a guesstimate of this many thousand pieces of mail we could send out, 50 cents a piece, and what that would cost, because obviously when you're sending out thousands, it adds up. The idea of this piece of mail would be giving them some general guidance, both on the common violations we see, as well as where they should go to learn more. And that includes both pointing them to the town website and pointing them to Chuck's telephone number. So we would hopefully hear less of, I didn't know. And there would be less of a reasonable excuse if we give them this information. So that's what that is. Also, trail cameras. We had talked about, actually it was in conjunction with Pineville, about maybe putting up some cameras there to start, to try and get a sense of who and how many people were using it as a dump site. And we talked about it back when we were looking at Pineville, because it was pretty egregious at the time. So I brought this back as something, if we had a couple of cameras in our inventory that we could deploy in areas that we felt were being used or abused more heavily, that'd be some nice things to have in our quiver. Next thing is just a line item. I don't know, Chuck, you would, if there's any plots of land that are potentially going to be donated, because I believe town council now says that we have to have any such plot of land surveyed before it can be moved over. I know it took a while to get the money for Sanborn Lane. So if there's any other ones that are in the hopper, it would be interesting to have some money to consider surveying that, even though a survey may take more than we have in the budget. I still wanted to include it. Next one. So we got a fair amount of work done in Pineville last summer by that volunteer group from Pennsylvania. So the thought here was, should we use some of the budget to stockpile materials, store the Terra cabin or wherever, to have them on hand, so we could pick up where that was left off and have materials that could be used for boardwalks and things of that nature. Basically, as a way to use the budget while we have it. And what's and yes, yeah, and that was the last one. Okay, so those are just some ideas I came up with this afternoon. Please feel free to add to, comment on any of the above.
Okay, Carl has his hand up. Comments, Carl?
Just a thought on the mailers. My father-in-law works for one of those big mailing, like marketing companies that mails tens of thousands of letters a day. I could see if he could, is that useful? If he could help us with that, or I don't know. Or does the town do that? Or...
It'd be
Well,
worth asking.
Yeah, is it cheaper? What's cheap? I actually don't, I'm not like 100% supporting sending out mail. And I know that we've pinpointed our audience, but I think that that wouldn't be high on my list, and there would be other things that we could do with the money. That being said, maybe if that was cut in half, it would be more attractive use of the funds.
So Carl, do you have an idea what the going rate is for one of these?
Oh, I know absolutely nothing about the
Well, then I
industry.
think it'd be useful at least to get some information.
Okay,
So we
so
can make a more informed decision, I
and
guess.
I think you wrote something like, should I go with 8,000 or what did you think it would be more realistically?
Well, there's 7,600 plus names on there. Like I said, there's some duplicates.
Yeah.
I began the work of going through and trying to get rid of a bunch of duplicates. Needless to say, it's fairly time consuming.
Yeah.
So where did I end? I ended up basically cutting in half and saying 4,000.
Okay, and then that would just be, just so I can let them know, like an 8.5 by 11 letter, right? Like envelope with,
Yeah,
right?
and one
Or,
page.
or a postcard.
Or a postcard, okay.
If that were less
Yeah, well-
expensive, sure.
Yeah, I see him all the time. I can ask him 4,000 postcards or letters mailed. What would it, if he could even help us? If he can't, I'll ask for a cost.
Of course, if we do it on a postcard, we're gonna have to actually work on writing more succinctly, but that's not a bad practice.
Okay,
I'm just thinking a postcard you see and you don't have to go to the effort of opening it up, and therefore you might actually read it, stick it on your refrigerator or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good idea.
Okay. Any other thoughts about any of these budget items?
So I do have a question for Chuck. I know we're on somewhat of a deadline. Can you tell us what dates we should have in mind for choosing what to do?
So we have to spend our budget by the end of the fiscal year. So that would be, June, end of June.
Yeah.
We also have the ARPA money, which also needs to be spent, but we have at least chosen items on that. There's going to be there might be a little left on that, so we'd have to look back at that again. But the ARPA money is, at least we've already chose the items.
Yeah.
I would
and-
suggest,
Go ahead.
so I would suggest that we figure out a time frame for everyone to input their thoughts on this, and then finalize the list, vote on it, and then start, and by that, I would like to partner up with one of the commission members or two of the commission members to get things ordered.
And I do want to, another thought occurred to me. I put down both hats and windbreakers. I was not insinuating we needed to do both. It'd be nice to have one or the other. So don't assume I've totally lost my mind.
Mhm. Yep. I'm just gonna suggest that hats, you're thinking like a baseball cap.
Yeah,
I think if it's for the commissioners to wear out on site visits, and we buy them in advance and we have them available for future commissioners, hats are a lot more easily one size fits all.
right, exactly.
Windbreakers is going to be a little harder to make sure you've got the right size.
Right, in the quote unquote research I did today for lot sizes, it's everything down to 12, 18, 24, very common. So
Mhm.
it would make sense to buy 18 or 24 just to have future ones.
I want to ask exactly what you mean by a plaque and stand for Birch Meadow. Where at Birch Meadow would you be putting this?
And you want to talk to that since you brought it up at the hearing?
It's a hearing with by the parking lot where they're gonna be doing the little gravel stone walkway. I'd asked if there's gonna be any signage that tells them there's a stream there or anything about it, and it sounded like that was already in the plan. So that might be paid for as part of the Birch Meadow Master Plan, Phase 1. But if it's not, so we should coordinate with the landscape architects and see if what they had planned. I'm sure that they'll take money if we give them money.
Okay. That sounds like a good place to have some information. And tell me more about the conservation signs. Are you thinking like the one outside Matera Cabin that we just put up with the?
No,
No.
that's pretty expensive and that's a heavy duty one. I'm thinking more along the lines of the one that's going to be put in at the Pearl Street entrance to Bear Meadow. So it's the same look, just not as big and not as heavy duty. I think the post is different, isn't it, Chuck?
Yeah, that's a $2,000 sign. So that's what that sign's going to be. It's a little under 2,000, but it's good to say it's just $2,000
It's 2,000 for the one
at
Matera
Pearl
Cabin?
Street.
Pearl Street, okay,
Yeah, it was
Okay.
it was about 4 for the one at Matera Cabin.
okay.
And we got lucky because it was, so we got a piece of material that was left over from another job, so we got a discount on it. That's not available for the Pearl Street job
Right.
or any.
So the idea on the signs is that in most of the places, there's still the wood ones that were put up pretty much whenever that conservation area was incorporated. And so they're very old. I know the Boy Scouts touch them up now and again, but they really do look old and tired. We all like the look of the one from Matera Cabin, which is why we have the same general look for the Pearl Street entrance. So I was thinking that if we extended that over time, we wouldn't have to do all the conservation areas. We certainly wouldn't have to do them all in one budget year. Just I think it'd be nice to extend that look.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
then for this budget where it says 2 signs at $1,000 each, we really want to change it to say 1 sign at $2,000 or two signs at 2,000.
Yeah, and I can do those touch-ups afterwards and add some notes, like Carl's going to check with his father-in-law. I'm going to check with my daughter, things like that.
Okay. Any
That's
other
fine.
comments?
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, just on the signs, I just familiar with the conservation near my backyard. There's no real sign and entrance at the bottom of Hunt Street there's the place to put some sheets, say Napa 11, they'll have like pick up your dog poop, but there's nothing that says where you actually are. So it doesn't have to be a super fancy sign, but there's there's 3 entrances to that. But some of those are probably going to get signs with the bigger Mallet project going on, but that particular Hunt Street probably is not.
No, it is. We're going to get signage at all the trailheads for the hunts, for the Millets, Homs and Morgan land. And then we brought that up. We're working on a budget now. And, as you know, we asked for a certain amount of money and luckily we got $500,000 more than we asked for.
So
This is from the federal government. This is your federal government showing their appreciation for conservation.
I knew my taxes were doing something.
If you don't use it, it does go back, but we're looking into the entrance on Willow Street, retaining wall, working that out. We got another bonus today also. We had the legislative members contact the MBTA, and we needed a permit to work within 30 feet of the rails, and there was a $30,000 fee with that permit, and they waived it, but it was only after the legislators talked to them, so they weren't going to do it for us alone. Yeah, when you look at the place, it seems really ridiculous. It seems very remote. You're far away, but they have their own rules, and to be even close, you have to get a permit, and you have to pay for these permits. So anyways, the signs are going to be part of the Millets, Homs and Morgan project.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
But I was thinking you guys might have your own spot. I'm like, oh, man, let's get a couple signs over at Pineville, where we've been spending so much time and energy rebuilding the boardwalks and trying to get that more walkable, because in spring there's a lot of mud, there's a lot of, all that. So they did almost 200 feet of boardwalk last year. We're going to try to do that again. See where we're at. Maybe 100 feet is more doable, but they're going to try to do more at Pineville.
Right, so the idea on the materials was to make sure we do use up the budget, depending on what else we choose. There's always the option of buying some materials that could be used for that boardwalk work.
Right. So I would say you want to, materials, buy stuff. So we have the Matera Cabin, Bare Metal Complex, and we have the community garden. Maybe there's something at the community garden also that you could buy that, Kathy Z could tell you that's needed. It's outside of their budget. Or Matera Cabin, there's things that are needed there. I have a wish list too, for things, we rent that place out. It's used for programming. So we're always talk about furniture. And over the past couple of years, it was the Conservation Commission that never had their side of the budget to buy the furniture. And Jenna Fiante said that she would pick it up. But right now we could get some furniture and maybe something that would, accommodate people a little bit better. If you've been there, if you haven't been there, you should go so you understand what I'm talking about. But even the chairs are, a hodgepodge of different crazy chairs that are from the school and from offices and from, I don't know, wherever they come from in town facilities. But glad to have them, but it would be a great upgrade.
Another thought I have is a few years ago, we bought some no dumping kind of signs. I don't know if we have used those all up and whether we want to buy a few more to have available if the occasion is needed. And you sometimes give people sort of a diamond shaped sign with an owl on it that marks the borders of 25-foot zone of natural vegetation or conservation land or something. Do you still have a big supply of those, or do we need to replenish that supply?
There's plenty of those still.
Okay. What about the no dumping signs? Do you have plenty of those still?
I think I have.
You
one.
have them, right, Chuck? They're not still in my shed.
The what? No, you brought those to me.
Okay.
I think,
I do.
yeah.
I do think, just as a side note, those signs, the no dumping signs, have worked phenomenally on my road. That was like pretty blatantly horrible 18 months ago, and I haven't seen anyone doing anything. So
Great.
Good.
they
That's
do
good.
work. So just to your point of, should we buy a few more? Maybe we should, to have them on hand. Start throwing them
So
everywhere.
we should actually put one or two of those up in Pineville. I was there the other day and there's definitely some new piles. Not as bad as it was, but there's new
Oh, really?
piles. So maybe we should try some signs there.
Is that near Maple Street?
It's
you
the
know-
way you and I went in that time we walked over, whatever that street is.
It's probably Maple Street. That's pretty chronic over there. We actually, in an effort to stop this, we cut down all the brush in front of it so there was a
Right.
more clear view. And those people,
Yes, and that is the area.
it is frustrating. It's super frustrating because we're working so hard. Can't imagine the amount of money the Trails Committee's put into that, time and effort, and still people just casually walk over there and dump whatever they don't want in their own yard.
And if
Does-
you remember, Chuck, that's also the place we were talking about using cameras.
Yeah, no, I like that. I was wondering what I was going to ask you about that. It seems, have you looked into cameras? It seems like it's pretty cheap.
No, I have looked at them. And that is the exact price of the two that I have sitting on my desk.
Should we put a sign that says they're on camera too, Brian?
No.
Yeah,
We
I
went,
thought
we,
about that.
we,
Yeah.
We went through the trails, went through that with another committee, and those signs are a problem because it gives a sense of security, and which is not actually part of the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's no sign.
Okay, so are we good with a budget discussion for now? Shall we move on?
Except for give it a deadline and ask everybody to update it. I can send this around. People can add their own information to it. And then we can have one list to talk about. And if it's 2 weeks, that's great. If 2 meetings from now or the next meeting, that's fine.
Actually, Chuck, if I can send it around, because then before I do it, can add notes from tonight's meeting.
Okay.
But then everybody please add and send it back to me and I can consolidate.
So that's what we're looking for. It's just a vote for everyone to understand that if you got some suggestions, has to be in at that time. The next
as far
meeting
as the-
might be fairly full. And the following meeting is 0 Small Lane, also a big deal. So it probably doesn't matter because I don't know if we can push it off too far because we need to start ordering stuff. So maybe there's some time at the next meeting.
Yeah,
At the very
well, at
least,
least if we've all gotten our input to Brian before the next meeting,
Exactly.
then if we have time, we can discuss it at the next meeting. If not, we can push it off.
Yeah.
Okay, minutes discussion.
I owe you minutes still.
Yeah, I didn't get my minutes done either. So Andrew, you still have a chance to win our contest.
So I'm gonna do tonight's meeting and I'm gonna beat the both of you.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Well,
and-
that's glad. I'm glad you guys had that opportunity to confess. I
and-
appreciate that, but that's not what that line item was about.
Okay, but just saying, Chuck, you're in the race too, and we have only given
Well,
you
I feel
one.
better.
I think someone needs to, I'm like drowning on my minutes. I'm not going to get to those minutes until we have basically no or 1 or 2 items in at the meeting. So I don't think that was even a long meeting, but that's still going to be my saying about that. I'm not going to get to them if I have orders of conditions and RDAs, all these other things that we're doing, because that's what's been happening to me. So what I wanted to do is to update you about a conversation I had with the department heads of the town about the minutes. And it sounds like that there's an opportunity and there was no hard no that we ran into when I discussed this with our new department, trying to think, we have a new community development director, and then there's Matt Cronellis also, and they said they don't see any issues with either putting an ad in the paper and paying for this out of our own funds. And neither did HR, but they said, we have a great concept. There's some of the particulars that have to be thought about prior to going live with that. So I went down, I talked to my department head, who's, a planner, and he said they have the same problem and they wanted to team up with us. So we have a meeting tomorrow, and this is going to be on the agenda to discuss how we're going to present this, to say it would be great to hire one person that would take on CPDC minutes and conservation minutes, and to see if that can be funded through the department. So that's an update.
But Chuck, in that meeting, you need to have some conversation about how to establish priorities and minimums. I mean, I can see at some point there may be some conflict as to who get finished. So I think there needs to be a minimum in X amount of time at the most, the meeting has to be done, so you can't get swamped.
Right, that meeting's only about whether we have a job description available. Where's it going to go? Does it first go internally and then second in the paper? Who's going to be part of this? conservation planning, maybe zoning also, I'm not sure. It seemed to have been, pushed aside for a long time, but when I brought it up, it's almost like it has a new life. So we're going to see where this is going to go. Now, as far as what you're saying, I think we were going to develop the amount of time. So each meeting's like 4 hours. So like pay them based on whatever amount of hours, obviously more than 4, to do the minutes. So 2 hours or 2 meetings per month for conservation, 2 meetings per month for planning, and then see who else wants to chime in and see if we can make something that works. So I think that I thought it was kind of interesting that you had 1760 up there, because when I thought about it and looked through what we would end up spending for someone at 4, 6, 8 hours, something in that area, it was about $2,000. About $2,000 is what we would be paying. So maybe
and
that's.
So Chuck, going back to my comment, what I was thinking of is the situation that we had when I first got on the commission, where there was somebody and we had part of their time to do minutes. And then as they got busier, they finally said, we can't do this anymore. So just trying to build in some understanding and some controls so that we won't get squeezed out again.
Sure, that would always happen if we found someone internally to do the minutes, but if we hired someone outside, I guess their only option would be to quit, because it would be per minutes per meeting,
Okay.
the pay. So, but that can change because we haven't had that job description discussion yet. That's what I wanted to say about the minutes. It seemed to have a little bit of traction more than it has in the past.
Good, because that would be very good to get somebody to do our minutes for us and not have to keep.
Martha,
swapping around.
I know, and I agree. It's so great. When I first got here, it was all set up. You never had to take minutes. It was always somebody that was provided. During this same conversation, I just want to let everybody know that they're gonna. So I know possible members still on the line. One of the things that came up was, well, maybe we should notify each member and the VAST committee when they accept their position that minutes taking may be part of what they're asked to do. So
It's much better to find a better way to get the minutes done.
well, I just wanted to let you know
Yep, I know.
what you're up against. You
Mhm.
know, that might have been, oh, Brian Bowe's not part of the Conservation Commission because he decided that's just not enough. But this is not unique to Reading. Other communities take minutes. In Arlington, they take minutes. That's how it is.
We have a potential person on the line. So William, do you go by William or Bill?
Sure. I don't know if we gave him any permissions. Let me. Why don't we do that since we? Bill, I'm going to make you a co-host, so you can control your destiny out there with a mute and camera if you want.
Okay.
Okay, great. So hi all. The Belmont Conservation Commission, we had to take our own minutes. This sounds miraculous to me. If you got someone to take minutes, hallelujah. Because like you said about Arlington, it was just a chore. You know, we all dreaded it. We thought it was just part of the work.
Yeah.
But the thought of having someone else do it, hallelujah.
Okay, good to hear.
Yeah.
I think so.
certainly would not want to scare off somebody who's willing to do all the other work of being a Conservation Commission member just
Exactly.
because they don't want to take minutes.
Oh, luckily, you know, I hate to say it, but that's really not up to us.
Mhm.
What all that. So as you know, the town separates that whatever happened, that interaction with the potential candidate and the Conservation Commission or any other board. So we don't recommend, we don't review in advance. We don't have a say. The VAST committee making a recommendation to the select board. So not, obviously you can write, I have one item checked off instead of two others, but it doesn't come to the Conservation Commission. I think it's a great idea. I only mentioned that other part where there's people also saying, we could just have, let the members know so they're not surprised. So it's not 100%. I think with us coming from our state funds and hiring someone, we have the most chance of getting this to happen because we don't even need public services money. You guys would make a vote to use the funds that come in through the state fees, and hopefully there's enough. I think there would be plenty for this year, but it might drain quickly, at $2,000 a year.
So Chuck, just as a curiosity question, could we use the donation funds for this?
Probably not, unless we said we had a list of things that it was donated to. I mean, so conservation purposes is what it was set up for, and and office, purposes.
All right, I was just scheming.
All right, so we're nearing 8:30. We've discussed that. We have a conservation DPW monthly meeting coming up on March 7th. I think I would be able to attend if anybody else wants to. Happy to have more people come.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. No word on 445 Pearl Street, Chuck?
No word. No. We're
And-
going to let that go until the spring. The last I heard, forgot his name. I know his last name, Rivers, but I don't know the dad's name, but he went into the hospital. So
Mike
that was the
Rivers?
last I heard. Is it Michael Rivers? I think that's the owner of the house at 445, but his dad,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, I hope he's better soon. And we have not got any minutes written for the September 28th or January 11th. I believe January 11th was me. January 25th is Andrew, but I believe Brian did December 14th. We had a chance to see them and we just didn't have it on the agenda last month.
Right.
So I think we can vote on December 14th and get that off the list. Did anybody have any other corrections to that other than what I already sent to Brian? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, 2022?
This is Brian. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of December 14th, 2022.
John, I'll second. John Sullivan in favor.
Carl Ciccone in favor.
Andrew Gibbon in favor.
Brian Bowe in favor.
Martha Moore in favor. Okay, anything else on our agenda for tonight, Chuck?
Just an update. Carl Ciccone made a plan of the Lot 5 hill area. It's in the back of Lot 5. We wanted to amend the plan that exists for this area and put in some plants. And this needs to be approved by Natural Heritage. I sent the plan to Natural Heritage, to Misty Ann Merrill, and I haven't heard from her, and I'm going to check in soon, but she did say as long as you want to make some updates and you note the list where you're getting the native plants, that in itself is an approvable action. So plans aren't always needed, but I think that we already had the plan and I wanted to send it in because all that hard work went into it. So
Thank you, Carl, for all your hard work making that plan. That was
Oh,
good.
no, it was the least I could do.
And Bill, or William, just so you know, this is A little blur.
Oh, look at that. It doesn't work
Oh,
because of the
there,
background.
Oh,
almost.
there you go. You're faded out.
Let's see, I'll fix it. Hold on a second.
Yeah, this is, we asked for some shrubberies and not just grass planted on the cut hillside at the back end of the parking lot at Lot 5 on Grove Street, so that the roots would hold the soil better on that hillside. And
Chuck,
so-
was the pricing useful?
You know what? I don't remember seeing that pricing.
Oh, okay.
So I did ask Fidel what he thought, and he said that it's not a problem, and this is going to be something that goes in after the project.
Cool.
I think I saw the pricing, so you might want to skim through your emails again. I think it did come through as an email.
Sure.
If not, I might be able to find it and forward it to you.
All right.
Okay. Anything else? Well,
8:30.
okay, I hope you get approved by the select board. We would love to have you on board.
Thank you. I'd love that too. And it is Bill rather than William. It says
It is
William. I go by
Okay.
Bill. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
well, thank you. Can
All
we
right,
have a
Bill, thank you.
motion to adjourn at 8:30?
This is Brian. I make a motion to adjourn at 8:30.
Carl Ciccone, second.
Okay, in favor?
In favor.
Oh,
Andy, do you need to be on the agenda at our next meeting for the Simon's Way? I just wanted to get that out.
Yeah, we have a meeting next week, so yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
great.
All right, thank you for going to those meetings, Andy.
Oh, 1 second
Yeah.
before you leave, Andy, I want to so the meeting is adjourned, right? So Andy, I just wanted to let you know that I saw the plan in another meeting, and they have the building, the proposed building. I don't know if this is what you can end up with, but what happened to me a few times is we all pushed them back, buildings at the 35-foot area, then all of a sudden the fire department comes in and says they need access all the way around it. No one wants to move the building. And so the access becomes part of the 35 and in the 35 buffer zone. So just remember, you're looking at a building that doesn't have the required access that our fire department always asks for to be able to get around every single building in town.
You keep seeing, I haven't seen any buildings. Now I want to see if I've been sent up.
Well, I guess, yeah,
See more than I've seen.
yeah,
They're
I don't know if it's the
inside.
new buildings, but make sure that you're aware of that.
What kind of
And
building
you
is
might-
this? Because that's what we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah. What, access or the building?
The
The
fix is
building,
in,
we're like-
Andy. The fix is in.
We supposedly have an open platform here to decide whatever should go here. So yeah, no, there's been no building shown to us quite yet.
Yeah, well, it'd be great if they don't have to get around this particular building, then you're fine, but I haven't seen that come up. Trying to think of a building. I guess anyone on Main Street, I mean. So what's that? Bagel World? That's one.
Well, that's
So,
working well.
but you can't go around it, yeah.
I'm thinking of the nursing home that's just north of Home Goods. I know they have a road between the nursing home and the wetland that looks like it's just fire truck access.
Right, yeah, it's that pavement, it's that pervious pavement to withstand traffic. So it was just an FYI. I believe it's going to happen, but you're doing the meetings and not me. So it's just going to be something that you keep in the back of your head to say, we're going to approve this building. When we go to the DRT meeting, it's not going to get an additional impervious surface like right at the edge of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. It is a tight site, so we'll see where it goes in terms of the conversation. But you saw,
Okay.
yeah, good to know.
All right.
All right.
Everybody all
All right.
set?
Yeah.
I'm gonna rest up before the next meeting.
Yeah. All right.
I have
know,
a feeling. I have a feeling
8:30 is
it's
kind
gonna
of
be
late.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
a long one.
Well, it's three RDAs, and then the Johanna. So there's 4 RDAs. So it's gonna be quite quick if you kind of understand where you're gonna go with it and you don't repeat, I guess, what another commission member said. So I have faith that should be out fairly early if we stick to something,
Attaboy, Chuck, attaboy.
necessary. I do have the end meeting button too.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
all right,
Thank you.
bye now.
Bye.